Good evening and welcome to the show. Now, just a reminder, no matter what happens from here on, stay calm, stay safe, and always stay connected. The SolarWinds server hack attack, as I called it, was uncovered this week. But unfortunately, it doesn't seem clear yet who actually committed the attack. Let me just give you the scope of this hack. According to CBS News, at least 8 government agencies are impacted, as well, apparently 8 countries too. This is aside from those Fortune 500 companies that also use the SolarWinds Orion system. So in other words, really, the most important government agencies were attacked. There was also a report that showed the Department of Energy was also hacked, and that includes the access to the nuclear program. DOE spokeswoman Shaylin Hines said in a statement to the Epoch Times that the Department of Energy said that it was hacked by a malware injected into its network after a SolarWinds update, but that its national security functions were not impacted, including the agency that manages the nation's nuclear weapons stockpiles. She said the Department of Energy is responding to a cyber incident related to SolarWinds compromise in coordination with our federal and industry partners. Now, this is the official statement. I would think that the only way she would have said this is the way she did. I mean, imagine the outcome and the shock to the American people if she had said that the nuclear stockpile was compromised. It wouldn't be good PR or for the stability of the country. I shouldn't find this funny, but CISA, the same agency that said this election was the most secured ever, released a report last night saying that the cybersecurity and infrastructure is aware of the compromises in the US government agencies. Now, the critical infrastructure entities and the private sector organizations by an advanced persistent threat actor beginning in at least March of 2020. So basically, CISA says, since March of this year, there has been hacking into government agencies. How exactly could you call an election the most secure if hackers can easily hack into arguably one of the most secure government cyber systems in the world? But we know that even the government isn't safe from a digital attack, so why are some people still calling it the most safe and secure election? Now, some are actually even calling this a digital Pearl Harbor. If it is a foreign agent or an entity performing the malicious attack, then this might be a trigger to likely initiate some form of retaliation by the US government. John Ratcliffe reportedly wanted to include the attack in his report due today, but now we know it's delayed. As well, according to the CBS, the president was briefed on the attack. Whoever the hacking group is, they have essentially declared a cyber warfare against the United States. I'll give you a scoop and we'll dive into the analysis and the investigation on this. All the legacy media are trying to blame this on Russia again. I think at this point people are tired of hearing the word Russia. If we really think about it, who are the top 2 likely candidates responsible for the hack? I don't know about you, but my bets are on China and the deep state. Could it be China? Well, let's take a look at this. Well, first, from our previous video, we established that UBS Bank from Switzerland helped China gain some degree of control into Stable Street Capital through the $400 million private equity fund. Now, Stable Street Capital, SSC, is the parent company of Dominion. Another company called Cyberlink is also part of Stable Street Capital. Now, both Dominion and Cyberlink have a very close tie to SolarWinds. In fact, Dominion deleted its hosting logo from its own website, but we were able to find the archive of it. Now, it seems Dominion does not use the Orion system, but rather uses something called ServU, also from SolarWinds. But it doesn't justify the fact that they deleted the trails to SolarWinds logo. According to this tweet from Emerald Robinson, China and Obama seems to be involved in this whole chain of companies. Let's explore this. So the first part of the tweet, pretty simple. We talked about the relationship between Dominion and China in our previous video, so I won't go into much details. But SSC acquired Dominion, which then some person spent $400 million to invest into Stable Street Capital. That was done through the UBS Bank in New York, which is related to the UBS Bank in China. Now, this $400 million was never disclosed as to how it will be spent and who it will be spent on. We may have to guess that some of the money from Stable Street Capital definitely went to Dominion and some definitely went to Cyberlink. Cyberlink is an IT firm headquartered in Dallas, Texas, and it provides a robust suite of managing IT services that allows enterprise customers to simplify their technology infrastructures, seemingly scale operations, and improve their IT responsiveness. Now, according to businesswire.com, the company provides cloud computing, server hosting, and IT infrastructure. According to SolarWinds' website, Cyberlink is one of its sub-processors of SolarWinds. Now, subprocessor is a third-party data processor engaged by SolarWinds, including SolarWinds affiliates, who process personal data. SolarWinds has adequate data transfer mechanisms in place with each of the subprocessors, which means some of the data is logged into Cyberlink, which is used to be processed. But we don't know if government agencies' data is processed in Cyberlink or not. So at this point, what we have is a foreign company in Dominion from Canada manages election information and voting systems in at least 28 states. A Texas firm potentially managing government agency data coming from SolarWinds. Both of these are owned by Staple Street Capital, who is not only connected with China deeply, but also with Obama and Bush. Because the co-founders of Staple Street Capital are former executives of the Carlyle Group, which is heavily involved with George Soros, Obama / many other Democrat key personnels like Nancy Pelosi, Dianne Feinstein, and more. What is even worse is, you won't believe this, SolarWinds was brought back onto the public stock market by Silver Lake Partners and Thomas Bravo LLC. Now that's according to middlemarket.com. It says the company was taken private in 2016 with $4.5 billion deal struck by the two tech-focused firms. But in 2018, it went public again. Both Thomas Bravo and Silver Lake Partners are still holding board positions in Cyberlink. With Silver Lake Partners is a firm that invested in Alibaba, which is a Chinese company, in 2011. Alibaba is one of the largest corporation giants in China, headed by Ma Yun, who owns the Chinese Amazon website called Taobao. Silver Lake Partners also have its members in with the Obama Foundation. On the website, Glenn Hutchins, co-founder of North Island and co-founder of Silver Lake, is one of the directors under Obama's foundation. Hutchins in 1992 joined the Bill Clinton's presidential transition team as a senior advisor focusing on economic policies. After 2 years serving as a special advisor on economic and healthcare policy in the Clinton administration, Hutchins returned to private equity, this time joining the Blackstone Group in New York. He then joined Silver Lake Partners. The Silver Lake Partners is heavily invested in many tech companies, including Skype, Motorola, Dell, and GoDaddy. All this suggests is that Cyberlink, SolarWinds, and Dominion have suspicious ties to both China and the deep state. Now, the Obama-Clinton corruption body is somewhere involved in this as well. Then we also have the potential that the hack was coming from a black hat employed by the deep state. This could have been done in two ways. We know that the CIA holds a secret tool called the Hammer, which, according to whistleblowers, have the ability to hack into foreign election systems. In 2009, it was utilized by Obama, and in 2012, it was used to hack into Florida's election system to change the election results in favor of him. Now, since we don't exactly know when these hacks were commenced, since apparently dating back to March of this year, and how much exact information was lost to the malicious hackers, it is difficult to assess this situation. But what we do know now is that there are hostile forces who are adding to the chaos in this country right now. With these hacks, according to this tweet, back 10 years ago, this veteran was briefed on a potential cyber Pearl Harbor. He finds it unacceptable that a system was attacked in this day and age. On Thursday, a witness revealed Chief Justice John Roberts was heard screaming at the other justices about voting on the Texas case. In this video, it was heard that John Roberts, along with the other liberal justices, did not want to take the case because back in 2000, Bush v. Gore didn't have the riots that came with this. Linwood tweeted this. He says, "Corruption deceits have reached the most powerful office in our country, the Chief Justice of the U.S. Supreme Court. This is a sad day for our country, but a day on which we must wake up, face the truth. Roberts is the reason that the SCOTUS has not acted on election cases. Others involved, they have failed to uphold the Constitution." In other words, we now understand that the SCOTUS justices were scared, just as we predicted. They did not want to be the judicial body that determined the outcome of a controversial election. Trump also expressed his disappointment. With the SCOTUS, this essentially tells us two things. The first is that each body of the three branches have failed to uphold the Constitution in a timely and a justifiable manner. The SCOTUS based on this should be a good indicator as a body that we should not rely on anymore. Going forward, Sidney Powell says her case in the SCOTUS are being delayed to January 14th. Some are being rejected. Now, they're trying to delay this whole thing past the January 6th voting deadline, which another indication is that the Supreme Court is compromised. Very likely. And not only that, but Georgia's Secretary of State finally said he will audit all counties. But this is after 5 and 6 weeks after the election. All they're doing right now is just dragging out the time, so it delays Trump's advancement in the judicial battle. But as well, Congress too, who will still go through the process, but I believe many Republican senators and congressmen are just not going to support Trump. Some will object to voting on January 6th, but I just don't think Congress would be doing anything impactful. Given the list we have seen so far of the ones who are willing to come out and support Trump, it doesn't even reach the halfway point. It definitely will not reach a majority in the congressional body, which we have to go through the House first. Right now, the House majority are Democrat, which means we cannot rely on the Congress either. Which leaves the presidential branch in as the last one we have. And in this election, we saw the separation of power being used against the president. He's alone. They used all levels of the government to turn a blind eye against blatant evidence of irregularity. And this tweet really summarized the feelings of many American people. We're reaching a point where laws and the Constitution isn't even being upheld by those elected. They're ignoring the legal basis of this country. Now, this might justify using martial law, because if one side is actively trying to ruin the country, then why can't Trump use more extreme methods? We can also keep in mind that the martial law doesn't need to be violent. It doesn't always is. But the only reason people associate the word to violence is because that is what the legacy media tries to paint it as, saying that the martial law in the United States under Trump is going to be a dictatorship. But I can guarantee that with a proper decision like this, someone like Trump can do the right thing. As well, Lincoln had to do it, even if he was criticized for violating the Constitution. But remember, even our SCOTUS isn't trying to uphold the Constitution anymore. So who in reality is really violating it in the first place? As General Flynn said, the president still has powers, including seizing voting machines and using military capabilities to rerun the election in key battleground states. He told Newsmax in an interview that while he doesn't know if the president will pursue these options, he said Trump needs to plan for every eventuality because we cannot allow this election and the integrity of our election to go the way it is. Flynn said the president could place them in those states and essentially rerun the election with each of these states. It's not unprecedented. He also clarified his position around the martial law, saying that he isn't calling for it, noting that we have a constitutional process that has to be followed. So obviously there are methods outside of the martial law and the Insurrection Act. But to actually act on it first is the really key step. And here is the underlying problem. Even if Trump used the military to seize the machines, rerun the election, would the American people really wake up? I mean, if the lies of the deep state aren't fully exposed, would it really benefit the American people in the long run? We now know clearly there are two branches of the government that are compromised. In other words, we can deduce that the Pentagon may be Trump's last real supportive agency, and the military may be the only department that Trump has real authority and support over. We don't know what his next moves are, but as I previously stated, Trump is a very unpredictable person, which makes him dangerous to his enemies, because he cannot be controlled and he has a plan that is not going to be easily guessed by me or anyone. What we can expect from him is that in the most simplest and most logical explanation, we will have to wait and see. Joe Biden sent this tweet out on Thursday night. The tweet says he wants to set an example of a peaceful transition. This is actually a quite cryptic message if you ask me. No one ever said that there wouldn't be a violent transition. In fact, Trump said he will leave the Oval Office as long as he was beaten fair and square. Even now, the legal battles are just taking place in a civil manner. No one has fought anybody else. So what could he mean then? Well, maybe Biden is scared. But today, Axios released an article stating that Pentagon and Secretary Miller have actually halted access for the Biden transition team during the cyber attack. The article says it is temporary, but Biden's officials were unaware of it last night. This isn't the first time the Pentagon has blocked the transition team. For example, a few weeks ago, Kash Patel stopped Biden's team from accessing top military spy agencies. These key agencies are Trump's secret weapon, so it makes sense. But if Miller suspends the transition, could it mean that a big event is happening? The interesting part here is two members close to Trump are revealing different things. First, Richard Granell, former acting director of national intelligence, called the article as fake news, saying that the article was politically motivated. That is actually interesting because it means the article was trying to paint the Pentagon as the bad people who refused to transition. But it also may have validated the truth of the information. As well, Trump's campaign senior advisor Steve Cortez revealed that Biden couldn't even get a basic security clearance because of the relations with the CCP. This actually matters a lot. If this is true, that Biden can't even get a low-level security clearance, then that means the Pentagon is not trusting Biden at all, which means they either have some type of grip on Biden's team or that they have suspicions of Biden's relations with China. Miller then came out with the official statement later the afternoon that basically says they're pausing a mutual agreement. But Biden's team didn't seem to make any statement regarding this. Instead, Biden's spokesperson said the following, which means Biden's team was caught off guard. However, if the reason they paused was due to the holiday breaks, then Biden's team can't do much about it. This timing is just too peculiar to ignore. On Friday, at the midst of a few things coming out, the first is the DNI report due soon, though delayed, is still in the process of coming out, which will include China's interference in this election. The Pentagon has decided to delay the transition team from accessing top military information, combined with this executive order issued on December 10th, which changed the order of succession in the Pentagon. This order outlines the line of succession should the defense secretary be in any way unable to perform his duty. This type of order is usually given in the military as the last order before they march out to battle. So it is a way to keep chain of commands intact while even on the battlefield. This is something done as the last measure. So is Trump preparing for something now that he's assigning this? As well, Miller and Trump had a meeting today at 3:30 p.m., which is exactly 45 days per the executive order of 2018. What is even more interesting is that per these executive orders, it seems that the government, including the president's office and any department deemed necessary, can continue to function through Christmas, such as the Defense Department. So they might have just left out Biden to dry with no intels and no really any information as to what to expect in the next 2 weeks. And they're going to focus on something big. Now, I wonder what happened on Thursday night. There may be a moment coming up this weekend that we should watch out for. But that is it for today. I hope you guys have a wonderful evening. As well, we have one more episode tomorrow. If you enjoy the content, make sure you like and comment and subscribe to our channel. As always, stay safe and have a great night.